in the Food Line parking lot or whatever, you maybe feel like you're doing something a little illegal when he hands you a bag and you're handing him money. But if a swamp monkey is a drug, it's a dang good drug. But I'll turn it over to Lacy Burnette.
Yeah, sometimes I definitely do feel like a drug dealer, so that's all right. But you know, I also want to take a quick second and thank Chad and John for having me out tonight. I look forward to meeting a lot of you guys. Just a little background about myself, of course. My name is Lacy Burnette. I grew up in Huddleston, about 10 minutes down the road from the state park. Loved to fish, a lot of fish ponds, creek fish and everything. But I remember my first striper like it happened yesterday. It was on a little 3/8 ounce bucktail. Probably hit the paddle wheel on the Virginia Dare and Beacons when I caught that fish. It had to be probably the dumbest stripers in the lake, but it was about 18, 20 inches long. And literally, I still have pictures of it in my bedroom at my parents' house, and it just really just ignited this fire. It still burns really bright today. So, you know, like I said, it's really an honor to be here to talk to you guys tonight and actually, you know, talk about my baits. And before I get, you know, into it too far, I can confirm that I fish with Chad, and he really does know how to catch those 10 to 12 inch stripers.
Yes.
Yeah. Woo.
And, hey, he was on my boat the very first. You remember the day we fished? We were pulling gizzards one day. We shouldn't have been. The water was too warm.
Yep.
My old boat, the very first citation in my old boat,
Yep.
Lacy was on the boat that day.
I witnessed it. So okay, he did catch one.
One.
But that's the only confirmation that we have. So, but that's just a little background about myself. You know, I started building baits probably in right around 2007. And Smith Mountain Lake Sporting Goods used to be next to a shop right here. Mitch, y'all probably remember Mitch there. He wanted to be able to make the jig head with the Gamakatsu hook in it. At that time, you know, Mike Sneed over at the Outdoors, we kind of had the market cornered. So I entered the jig head war game around here with that. Plus, at that time, I was 22, 23, so I needed a little beer money. So I figured, what the heck, let's make a few jig heads, you know, try to make a few sales, see what happens. Another reason I started making them is because I got to really thinking about it, which is kind of impressive at the time, as young as I was. You go out, you put all this gas in your boat, and you have these nice rods, nice reels, you know, expensive line, fluorocarbon, and all those different things, you know, big 10-inch fish finders on your boat. And I'm using a gotcha jig head with an Eagle Claw 10 hook on it. And I'm not about to dig on those hooks, because how many millions and billions of fish have been caught on those Eagle Claw saltwater 10 hooks? But I started losing fish. I started having fish, you know, open them up, and I was hooking some really nice stripers. And I just felt like those hooks just would not hold up. So between Mitch at the Sporting Goods and just my own personal experience, I decided, okay, let's invest in some molds, let's get some lids, get some hooks, and make this work. So I started making the jig heads, and honestly, and y'all gonna think this is really weird, and don't judge me for it, but I had a dream one night about taking a spinnerbait skirt, putting it on a round jig head, and kind of getting away from the bucktail game and getting more into, at the time I called it a skirt chaser. And didn't realize the skirt chaser name was already taken. And I made a couple of them. Of course, it was like June, July, you know, the fish were deep. Everybody was in Betty and Becky's, you know, yacht club area fishing over in Bull Run on the Blackwater side. And I talked to the Shad Taxi about it, Todd Keith. A lot of you guys are probably familiar with Todd. Great guy. Travis Patel, Casting Stripers, you know, I've known Travis a very long time too. And of course Dale Wilson, which I think Dale is probably like the foundation of striper fishing here on this lake. And I hope he's doing a little bit better, as I know he's been having some health issues. So, yes sir.
I got to tell you, Lacy, Travis, I see him quite a lot, and he tells me you make an outstanding lure, but you don't know how to use it. Now, I don't know if he knows what he's talking about.
Well, okay. I would expect nothing less from him.
If it's Mr. Gilmore, I'm just getting.
And see, I was about to give Travis some credit, so now I'm about to like take that back. But
He's a mess.
he is a mess. He is one of a kind fellow. I can tell you that. Absolutely, yes sir. But anyway, so I bought all the material, bought the thing to make my skirts with, and took a few to Todd, Dale, various things. Dale looked at it and said, this ain't gonna work, it's too big. Todd's like, you know, hard to beat a jig head at fluke. And he's not wrong. So, you know, June, July, August, September happened. You know, I had 20 of them in Mitch's store. They didn't sell. And I was, you know, kind of getting down and out about it. Fish finally showed up the river, and I live up around R47. So fish finally get up the river, getting the beaver down. Me and my buddy go out, and we catch 4 fish on it, and one of them's like a 33 incher. I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm on to something. took the pictures into Mitch. I was like, hey, you know, these things are working. He finally convinced some guy to buy 2 of them. The next day, that guy the very next day came in and bought every one he had. And so it wasn't long after that, I was fishing with Travis. We were up at Bay Rock, fishing the flat right below Bay Rock Marina, dragging gizzards, fish blowing up all over the place, couldn't buy a bite. Literally picked up the monkey and we started catching fish on it. And he said, man, this fish is fighting like a swamp monkey. And I looked at him and I said, what in the hell is a swamp monkey? And he said, I don't know, man, it just sounded cool. So from that point forward, you know, Swamp Monkey Lures was born. So that's a little bit of history about that. So I brought a few things with you guys tonight, just kind of talk about rigging. I mean, I have a feeling most of you have rigged a fluke before. But just real quick, this is what I start with. So this is a Gamakatsu 90-degree bend 6/0 hook. Now in some of my monkeys, I use a 5/0, the 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 ounce. If you go up to the 5/8 and a little heavier, I like a little bigger hook. In the 1/2 ounce and 3/4 ounce jig head, I use the 6/0, and the 1/4 and 3/8, I use a 5. But literally this is what I start with. I literally pour my own lid. This is powder paint. I have the fluid bits, toaster oven, and everything set up. The eyeballs on the monkeys, I hand paint using a drill bit. I have 2 different size drill bits. So I have one bit that's a little bit bigger, you know, of course, for the color part. And then I guess it's the pupil. I'm not a optometrist, but the little black part, you know, I have a smaller drill bit for that. Now, Dwayne at Captain's Quarters convinced me a few years ago to start doing the white jig heads with the silver prism eyes. They have been extremely popular. And so I can't take credit for the silver prism as a sticker. It makes my life a whole lot easier because huffing this paint sometimes, you know, kind of gets a little crazy. And it's a lot quicker process than hand painting them. But I refuse to go stickers on a lot of stuff because I stand behind what I do, and you guys are fishing hard, spending good money doing it, and I want to produce something good for everybody. So anyways, when it comes to the monkey, and I guess I'll go ahead and rig a jig-headed fluke first. What I like to do is I cut a little bit of the nose off. And
love that salt, man.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Ain't that good?
It is.
Ain't that good?
Awesome.
So
That is not gonna.
it's probably kind of hard for you guys to see at this point, but you know, it's about, I don't know, say a 1/4 inch, maybe a little more than a 1/4 inch of the nose off. And what that does, it allows that fluke to get right up against that head. I mean, you got that flat back on that jig head right there, and it really sits there well. Now, another little tip I'm gonna give you is this little bottle of Loctite here. It's like $2.50. You can get them at Walmart all day long. Actually, order them online. They'll ship them right to your door when you have to go inside, which is fine with me. But this will allow you not only to save on your flukes, but it saves you time. You get in a big school of fish, you want to keep that fluke on that hook. That way you catch that fish, get it back, get back down to the school before it's gone. So my jig head and fluke rigging is pretty basic. I mean, I got my square, I go through the middle of that square. I ain't doing a very good job, but I come out the slit. So you know, flukes have that whole split belly. So I come out that slit, I run it up to the lid, and once it gets to that lid, I twist it around. So I put the flat part to the back. I see some guys rigging it like that right there, and I ain't saying you're wrong, but that just is not how the way I do it. So I bring it on around, and I just slide it on up, and then I put the hook back into the slit, and I get a little pinch. And that little pinch just kind of helps keep it straight. And you want to keep this thing straight as an arrow. If you go to the side like my dad does, it looks like the helicopter lure going across the lake. And he still catches fish with it, but I can't really, I don't promote that. So anyways, what you got a straight fluke. And of course the fluke's the tail, you know, of course bounces around a little bit. But once I get it rigged up, nice and straight, I'll pull it back down and put just a little dab of super glue on there. And you ain't got to do much. Just a little dab. And I mean, you can barely see it on there. I'm sure you guys in the back can barely see that. That little dab of super glue will keep you fishing longer and will make a bag of flukes go a lot longer. So that's really it. You know, I do I do some bass fishing as well. And anytime I'm putting a trailer on a bass jig, something like that, I like this glue on there. SwampMonkey, I mean, so the only difference, of course, with the SwampMonkey, of course, you got your triangle head, which is hard to beat that, right? For jigging flukes, casting flukes, and everything. You know, when you go to jigging it, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, and when I talk about actually how to fish, you know, how to use the baits, a lot of guys did stick this. But even when you're dead sticking that bait, that triangle head, that fluke is still just dancing. I mean, if you're sitting there twitching it, that's great. I call a lot of fish doing that. But those guys who did stick, I mean, that fluke is still gonna have a little bit of action. But we'll get to that in a second. So swamp monkey rigging, very same way. I mean, you got the skirt here. You just basically turn it upside down. Take your fluke, like Chad said, get a little salt. And I rig it the exact same way. The thing I caution folks about is with the little super glue trick, is if you put that glue on there and it sits in your tackle box for about 6 months, I don't know what it does, but it reacts with the rubber around the collar, and that collar will usually come apart. And